Hey guys, so today I'll be doing a review and comparison of three different premium closed-back headphones. So I have all three of them here, and I'll just go over each one, talk a bit about each one and the prices of each. And first of all, I have to get this out of the way. They're all secondhand because if I bought them new, they would be quite expensive. And this one here, I'll just go left to right, is obviously in bad shape compared to the other ones because the headband is ready to start flaking off, but the headphones are working fine. So this is the Fostex TH900. They are the highest end closed back headphone that Fostex makes. So Fostex is a Japanese company that's an OEM manufacturer. So OEM means that they make speakers and headphones for other brands. So I think they made stuff for Denon and Sennheiser before in the past, before they started making headphones and other audio equipment under their own brand. And their highest end headphones, there's a closed back and an open back. So the open back I think is called the TH909. The closed back is the TH900, which is this one. And I've had some experience with Fostex headphones before, most recently with the TH610s. And I was actually quite impressed with the TH610s. I felt like they were very detailed, especially in the mid-range. And yeah, that actually made me want to consider getting more Fostex headphones. So that one was made with a nice wooden, that was a wooden closed back, Japanese headphone. This one is the same as well, except they actually put this unique kind of lacquer on this. It's called urishi lacquer. So this is a kind of a centuries old Japanese painting technique where they finish the ear cups. This is actually Japanese cherry wood, I believe, and they finish the cherry wood in this unique urishi lacquer, and that's how they get this really beautiful finish here. And you must be thinking, this is the reason why they're so expensive, right? So these retail for originally for $1,500 US. So yes, quite a bit. And that's why I got all these headphones secondhand, because I normally cannot afford it at the full price. So I got these for $600 US instead. Obviously, you can tell why. But even at that price, I think it's a pretty good deal, right? Because the sound of the headphones, that wasn't affected or anything like that. So I can still get the full sound of the headphones. And also the fact that these are not the Mark IIs. So there's the TH900 Mark IIs, which are newer. But the only difference, as far as I can tell, is that the cables in the Mark IIs are detachable. And that means you can swap them out for balance cables and stuff. This one, the Mark Is, the cable is not detachable. So yeah, unfortunately, I cannot swap out the cables on this. But as far as I can tell, that's the only difference between the Mark I and the Mark II. And the Mark IIs are usually still quite expensive. So that's why I got the Mark Is for a lot cheaper. And the sound should still be pretty much the same. So yeah, appearance-wise, this one looks amazing, and I think probably the best out of all these headphones. And it's just because of this unique urishi lacquer. So I can give you guys a closer look at that. Just very beautiful. The amount of craftsmanship, the amount of hand labor that went into this. Like, they actually even have a production video showing how they do it. It's basically skilled Japanese artisans that that paint these ear cups. And I mean, first of all, these are made of nice Japanese cherry wood, and then they take the sap from these certain trees to make these urishi lacquer and everything. And yeah, it's really amazing. Like, even the Fostex logo here is kind of just they brushed it on and everything, so it's done really well. So I think appearance-wise, this headphone is probably the best looking out of all these. And going for the comfort, well, actually the ear pads, yeah, they feel pretty nice. They're like either sheepskin or calfskin leather. So yeah, pretty nice, soft, comfortable, I think, as well. So headband obviously is not a very good headband, because you can tell it's been flaking off and stuff. So the headband definitely could use some improvement. But as far as the ear cups go, and the appearance of the ear cups is amazing. It's fantastic. The non-detachable cables is an issue. I mean, they improved it on the Mark II, but I don't know why they made it non-detachable in the first place. It's a very long cable that's attached to it too, so you cannot change out this cable, and it's a very long cable which increases the capacitance, and it ends in a 6.35 millimeter or 1/4 inch jack, which means if you want to plug it into a normal like a 3.5 millimeter, which are a lot more common, then you have to use an adapter. So that's the annoying part of using these headphones. Non-detachable cables, very long cable, and it's a 1/4 inch jack, which is not as common. But yeah, otherwise I think this should be pretty good, because I was satisfied with the Fostex headphones I listened to in the past. I was actually impressed with the TH610s. So I'm wondering how the TH900s would be like. At least from the appearance, they look very, very premium. So I guess this is a lot of the value of this headphone clearly went into the presentation, but the sound quality I'm also curious about as well. Yeah, let's check them out later. I'll do a impressions video of each after I go through introducing each one. All right, and the second one I want to talk about is the Dan Clark Audio-Aeon 2. So this is the only one that actually came with a case for me. And it's a pretty small case, and that's because this is actually the only one out of these three that folds up. So as you can tell, it folds up into a very compact shape, and otherwise the appearance looks very similar to the Dan Clark Audio Mass-Drop Aeon X Closed, which was a collaboration they did with Mass-Drop, and that's the one I used before. So my only experience with Dan Clark headphones has been the Aeon X. Actually, Aeon X Open and Aeon X Closed. So I've only had some experience with both the Aeon X headphones. I prefer the Aeon X Closed, actually. And I actually ended up choosing that one over the Fostex TH610 because it had a more balanced tuning, but and better soundstage. But yeah, these ones look almost exactly similar to the Aeon X Closed, except that this is in red color and the Aeon X is in black, and the fact that it folds up. So yeah, the Aeon X Closed does not fold up like this, and Aeon 2 does. So appearance wise, I think those are the major differences. Otherwise, it's pretty similar to the appearance of the Aeon X Closed. Closed back, obviously. They do have an open back version, but in my opinion, not as impressive as a closed back. Very comfortable headband, actually. It doesn't look comfortable, but when you actually wear it, it is a lot more comfortable. And this is the same headband that's used on the Aeon X Closed. In terms of the pads, yeah, again, this is pretty similar to the ones on the Fostex. It's either like calfskin or sheepskin leather. And the connectors are actually proprietary to Dan Clark. These are called the Hirose connectors. They're kind of like mini XLR connectors. The only other headphone I know that uses mini XLR is the Beyer Dynamic DT1980 Pros. So I guess just show you guys what this looks like. So just pulling out like that. Okay, so yeah, they're like mini XLR connectors kind of, but these are different than the Beyer Dynamic 1990 Pros. So if you ever want to get aftermarket cables for the Dan Clark Audios, just be aware that they need special cables because they use their own kind of connectors I don't really see in any other headphone. So yeah, but right now it just uses this standard 3.5 millimeter connector. I'll just be running all of these in the single-ended mode, not balanced mode, because normally when I run closed back headphones, I'm doing it with just like a simple dongle DAC, so nothing that requires like a balanced. And actually, none of the closed backs require much power to drive anyways. So yeah, like just in general, I find that open backs require a bit more power than closed backs do. Just in my experience, and these three don't really require that much power to drive, so I'll just run them in single-ended mode, so I don't really need balanced headphones. And balanced headphones would be tough to get for these two anyways, because this one can't even be changed, and this one needs its own special cables. In terms of the price and the technology, why it's different, so this one is $900. They actually make a Noir version, which has a black finish instead of a red finish, and that would actually look quite similar to the Aeon X Closed. But yeah, originally retails for $900. I got this for $550, and it's still in very good condition, right? Even I got it used, it's still in very good condition. And the upgrade over the Aeon X Closed is I believe they use a new magnet. So a bit of history about Dan Clark Audio. They're originally known as Mr. Speakers, and then they changed their name to Dan Clark Audio after the founder, Dan Clark. They are well known for making planar magnetic headphones. So planar magnetic is a little bit different from their traditional dynamic driver headphones. So a dynamic driver headphone like the Fostex, for example, they have like a speaker coil inside of here that's pretty much just like a normal speaker. Like any other speaker will have this normal like voice coil, and then as the sound is reproduced, like the speaker coil diaphragm just kind of moves to reproduce sound. It moves air, right? With a planar magnetic headphone, it's like this thin film that's kind of suspended like between different magnets, and it's a very thin film that gets like electrically excited and stuff. You can read up about it more online, but yeah, basically the operation of the planar magnetic is a little bit more complex compared to dynamic driver, and it's hence it's a newer technology. And Dan Clark is one of the biggest headphone makers, I would say, among I would say there's kind of like a big three, and then all the Chinese hi-fi brands make some too. Actually, kind of big four now. So the big four now is Dan Clark Audio, Audis is actually one of the ones that originally kind of pioneered the popularity of planar magnetic headphones. Hi-Fi Man, another brand that's actually from China, that popularized planar magnetics, and now Meze as well. So Meze Audio is a Romanian brand that now is well known for planar magnetics. And there's a bunch of other brands too, but I would say those are the main four out right now. Dan Clark, Hi-Fi Man, Audis, and Meze. So yeah, they're known for planar magnetic drivers, and this uses their latest planar magnetic driver, which I believe is derived from their flagship Ether headphones. So this is an upgraded driver compared to the ones that I tried out on the Aeon X open and closed. So anyways, should be pretty cool. I was very happy, and I really like the sound of the Dan Clark Audio Aeon X closed. So, you know, as audiophiles, we just can't be satisfied, I guess. So we always want to know what's better, right? So yeah, I mean, I was already pretty satisfied with the Aeon X closed. Sound signature, detail, soundstage was already pretty good. But I thought, you know, why not check out the Aeon 2? Because this is supposed to be like the Aeon X closed, except just more in everything, right? So, you know, just curiosity got the better of me, and I just thought, why not upgrade and see what this one's about? So yeah, I'll take a look at this one and see how it compares to the Aeon X closed that I had before. Okay, so yeah, that's the Aeon 2 from Dan Clark Audio, which actually is the only one that folds up and comes with a case. So that's cool. All right, and then last but not least is Audio-Technica. So this is the Audio-Technica AP2000Tis. So what you'll notice immediately is the finish of these ear cups is in titanium. So that's very unique. I've never seen any other headphone really use titanium covered ear cups, but that's what Audio-Technica uses. Now this is definitely not my first experience with Audio-Technica. So about the company, Audio-Technica is probably the most well-known among, I guess, mainstream consumers among these three audio brands here. So they make a lot of different products, basically. They make microphones, they make phono cartridges, they make turntables, and they make headphones and earphones. And I would say they're probably most well known for making affordable products. So a lot of people's very first like decent pair of headphones or earphones is probably from Audio-Technica. At least that's what it was for me. My very first pair of decent over-ear headphones was the Audio-Technica A900s, and for a lot of people it might be the M50Xs, right? Very, very popular, especially for someone in the studio. They're just starting out making some recordings. Audio-Technica is often a lot of people's first choice when it comes to like a microphone or a headphone, or a turntable for that matter. So yeah, and actually a lot of turntables come with Audio-Technica's entry-level phono cartridges too. So Audio-Technica is probably most well known among the general public as a maker of very good value, affordable audio equipment. But this one is not on the lower end. This is actually one of their high-end products, and just like with Sony and Yamaha, I think people don't realize Audio-Technica actually makes a lot of high-end products. So yeah, like people just know Sony for their lower end, like, you know, headphones, or maybe for their wireless headphones or wireless earbuds. But Sony actually makes like the $2,000 Z1Rs, right? And only audiophiles who really know about that. And they also make like $6,000 speakers too. Most people don't know about that. Audio-Technica, most people probably know them for the M50X or, you know, the R70X, just like $100, $200 headphones. But I bet most people don't know that Audio-Technica makes like, this pair of headphones is $1,700 on retail, and this is not even their most expensive headphone. They make headphones all the way up to like $5,000 or more. So I bet most people don't realize that Audio-Technica makes a lot of higher end stuff. So I actually got the second hand, of course. I didn't pay the full price. So this actually, the retail price on Audio-Technica's website is $1,700, but street price for this was actually $1,200, brand new, and I got these for about $600 because it's second hand. So yeah, I would say I scored a pretty good deal on these, and I've had good experience with Audio-Technica headphones and Audio-Technica equipment before. They've always been very good value for the price. They've always given the consumer a lot for their money. So I'm just curious, you know, as a brand, if they're doing so good on the affordable stuff, then what does their high-end stuff sound like, right? It's probably even better, right? So I just can't imagine. So anyways, this is what the headphones looks like. They're with the titanium ear cups right here. It's really cool. They use more standard 3.5 millimeter connectors for their cables, so that's a lot easier to replace compared to the Dan Clarks or the Fostex. The ear pads themselves, these are not as soft as the Dan Clarks or the Fostex. These are like more just traditional leather, not like calfskin or sheepskin. These are more like tougher leather, I guess. Still soft, but just not as soft as the calfskin or sheepskin on those ones. Headband is also the same kind of leather, which is actually kind of surprising because I actually thought Audio-Technica would usually make like this type of style, I guess, that has like two bands. They usually have like a double band, right? If you ever see Audio-Technica's cheaper headphones, they actually have like a double band right here, and they're actually really comfortable. So ironically, with their higher end line, like the AP2000Tis, it's more of like just a standard like leather headband here. So just, there's no wings. Like I'm used to like Audio-Technica having wings right here for better support. I'm not sure why they don't have it here on their higher end, because on their lower end headphones it's actually very comfortable. I would say Beyerdynamic, Audio-Technica, and Dan Clark, they make three of the most comfortable headphones I've ever listened to. So yeah, for some reason this higher end headphone doesn't have that kind of design. So I wonder how comfortable it is. So anyways, a little bit of history and background about Audio-Technica, and can't wait to try these higher end. Previously I tried the WP900s, which are also kind of high end, but was kind of disappointed by those. But I've heard those ones are actually atypical of Audio-Technica. So anyways, the AP2000Tis, not many people talk about them online, so I'm really curious how they're like. So yeah, that's it guys, a bit of introduction about these three headphones, and next I'll be doing my impressions of the three. I'll just use a headphone amp, hook it up to my digital music player, and then tell you guys what I think. So I just want to talk about these two headphones. The Audio-Technica AP2000Tis, by the way, are definitely pretty sensitive, so you don't need a lot of power to drive these, but the Dan Clark Aeon 2s definitely need more power to drive. So just be aware of that. If you're getting the Aeon 2s, I would invest in a nice headphone amplifier for these, or at least a USB-C dongle or something like that. The Audio-Technicas can be driven by pretty much anything, including your smartphone, but the Dan Clarks I think definitely need a little bit more power. And the Fostex is like somewhere in between these two. So yeah, just be aware, Dan Clarks definitely need some power to drive. So just like with the Dan Clarks, unfortunately these Audio-Technicas also come with proprietary connectors, which is the A2DC connector, which is kind of Audio-Technica's improvement on the MMCX connector. So yeah, another proprietary connection, which means it's going to be difficult to find aftermarket cables for these, just like with the Dan Clarks, but I guess at least you can replace them, unlike with the Fostex TH900 first generations. But yeah, something to keep in mind. Aftermarket cables are going to be kind of hard to find for all these headphones, all three of these. Even the Fostex second generation TH900s still have kind of like a proprietary connector. So yeah, all three of these headphones unfortunately kind of have more proprietary connections, so it's going to be hard to find aftermarket cables for them. Yeah, I wish they were more like Beyerdynamic or Hi-Fi Man or Focal. I mean, those headphones all use more standard 3.5 millimeter connectors, which are much easier to find aftermarket replacement cables for, but yeah, it is what it is. It's just something to keep in mind. Alright, so this is how I'll be testing these headphones. I'm using my FiO K7 headphone amp and DAC, and I think this is a very good headphone amp and DAC for the price. It's only $200 US, and for that price you get a pretty good DAC inside. You get dual AKM AK4493 DACs, which is a fairly high-end DAC. And the headphone amp is pretty good too. I think it's a THX AAA headphone amp. In my experience, I used the Drop THX 789 headphone amp before. Very low distortion, fairly neutral, so that's pretty good. It can drive about 560 milliwatts of power through the balanced, so that's pretty good. So yeah, in general, this can power most headphones without any issues. It has like a high gain and a low gain, all kinds of different inputs. So in this case, my source device is my Hibi RS6 DAP. So this is actually a very expensive DAP in itself. It's $1,200 US just for this DAP. But in this case, I'm actually using the FiOS amplifier and DAC section instead, because I think that's even, well, I'm not sure if the DAC section is better, but definitely the amplifier section has more power compared to this. And I have all my music on here. So I'm using the line out of the Hibi RS6 into the line in of the FiOS. Okay, So that's how I'll be using to test out some of my music. And first up is the Fostex TH900s. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys my impressions. First of all, Fostex headphones in my experience are kind of loose. They don't really have high clamping force on the head, so generally they just sit kind of loosely like this. So it's not really my favorite in terms of comfort. Yeah, so that's the one downside of Fostex, I guess, is I feel like they're not the most comfortable headphones. They just sit kind of just loosely on my head. And we have to use the 6.35 millimeter here, which the FiO does have. So it's nice. And we'll turn on the FiO. There's some nice RGB lighting here. Okay, switch to line input, and let's check out some songs. Wow. Wow, damn. Wow, okay. So my impressions of the Fostex TH900s, these are really good for modern music. Like for electronic music, this thing is a monster. Like the bass on these headphones, they just slam so hard. Like like for K-pop, you know, modern music, a lot of like electronic music, EDM, stuff like that. Oh man, this slams hard. So basically as soon as you hear the bass, it's like a club in your head, right? It's just like it slams so hard. But it's not like, I don't think it's like overly bloated or anything. It's like not a bad bass. It's not like Beats or something like that. Or you know, some of the Bose and Sonys that are wireless, they have too much bass. It's bloated and it doesn't sound very good. In the Fostex case, the TH900s, the bass is nice. It's like a nice bass, but it's definitely pushed up a lot. And it's very V-shaped. So it's not just the bass that's pushed up, it's also the trebles and the highs that are pushed up as well. So it's like, it's just a very strict V. Probably the most V-shaped headphone I've ever heard, actually, so far. It's one of the most V-shaped headphones I've ever tested so far. So yeah, if you enjoy electronic music or K-pop or EDM, dance music, stuff like that, these are amazing. The downside is they're not very versatile. So if you play other types of music, you probably might think that this, you know, the mids are definitely recessed. So for vocals and stuff like that, it's not that great. Just for like, yeah, mostly electronic music or just music with a lot of highs and lows, and these are really good because they have a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and the bass just slams so hard. The trebles, I think some people might think they're a little bit harsh, or they could be sibilant at times too. So I think the highs, maybe it's a little bit too much. I think it could be like a bit fatiguing, harsh, or a bit sibilant if you play certain tracks. So I don't like the highs on the Fostex. The mids are recessed, so I don't really like the mids as well, but the bass is really good. It's probably the best bass I've heard in any kind of headphone so far. The bass just slams. It's, yeah, if you play any electronic music, it's like a party club in your head, right? So it just slams so hard, and these are not a pair of headphones for relaxing listening, okay? These are a pair of headphones you put on because you want to dance, right? So, anyways, despite the fact that it looks conservative, you know, it's got this traditional Japanese urishi lacquer and stuff like that, you know, traditional craftsmanship, it's actually really meant for modern music, for like modern dance music especially. So yeah, Fostex. Interesting headphone. It's very specialized. I don't know if you get this headphone, it's not going to be a headphone that's going to be your only headphone, okay? This is going to be like another headphone in your collection, because I can't see using this for like all types of music. It's just not meant for all types of music. It's very specialized. But it's a nice headphone to have in the collection because it's so good at what it does. So just for electronic music, K-pop and stuff, that's the headphone to go to. Next up, Clark Aeon 2s. By the way, these are not the Noirs, but there's no difference between this and the Noirs except for the color. I think the Noirs are exactly the same, it's just the color's different. Okay, check them out. Oh man, the Clarks are so comfortable. Yeah, the Fostex is not that comfortable, that's the other thing. The Clarks, very comfortable. Like I said, Beyerdynamic, Audio-Technica, Clarks, those are my three favorite headphones for comfort. Oh, we're gonna need an adapter for this. There we go. Just find one laying around. There we go. 6.35 adapter. let's test it out. Okay, these ones actually need a bit more power compared to the Fostex. Turn it up a bit. Nice. Really like these. Okay, I really like these. Oh man, Dan Clark, you did it again. So I said that the Dan Clark Aeon X closed was actually probably my favorite closed back headphones that I've tried so far, right? So these are my new favorite pair of closed back headphones, the Dan Clark Aeon 2s, because it improves upon the Aeon X closed in every way. It's just more of it, and it's like the Aeon X closed. The reason why I liked it is because it's pretty balanced tuning, so it's got a decent amount of bass. Mids are okay. It's not like super pushed up or anything, but it's got pretty good mids too, very detailed, and the highs are really nice too. So it's just overly very balanced. Nothing is pushed up too much, nothing's recessed too much. So it's very balanced tuning, and I like the fact that it had a pretty nice soundstage despite the fact that it was closed back. And yeah, it was very comfortable to wear. So the Aeon 2s, and the amount of detail actually is pretty good too. So the Aeon 2s pretty much improved upon the Aeon X closed in just all those ways, right? It keeps the same balanced tuning, so very balanced, again, decent amount of bass, mids and highs, so there's nothing that's too pushed up or too recessed. The sound stage is more and the detail is more than the Aeon X closed. So it basically just takes everything I liked about the Aeon X closed and just adds more of it, more detail, more sound stage, and keeps the same level of comfort and keeps the balanced tuning. So simple. This is my favorite pair of closed back headphones so far. I love the Dan Clark Aeon 2s. These are great. If you can find the Noir versions, that's great. But I found like the non-Noir versions are actually cheaper to get secondhand. The Noirs are still pretty expensive. Too close to the MSRP to me. So yeah, I got these for 550 bucks. It's actually a pretty good deal for a pair of closed backs like this. This is like close to end game level, like in my opinion. This is like the best pair of closed backs I've listened to under 2,000, under $1,000. So yeah, Dan Clark's really good. Yeah, nothing bad to say about this one really. It's just like, okay, in terms of like if you go higher up and higher up, sure, there might be headphones that are more resolving, there might be headphones that have more detail in certain areas, and there's headphones that have more soundstage, but you know, like in terms of a closed back headphone, this is going to satisfy like 95% of people, right? Except for the most, or 99%. It's just for the most extremely picky audiophiles that are not going to be satisfied with this. But for the vast majority of people, this is probably one of the best closed back headphones for people. And it works with all types of music. It's not like with the Fostex, it's only for electronic music. This one works for all types of music. It's just so balanced. The tuning is really nice. Oh yeah, did I mention the fact that it folds up too? So if you're going to carry this, if you're going to use closed backs, you might, travel with them, and that's actually a thing, right? If it folds up, you've got a smaller case to carry, less space in your backpack. That's actually something to consider too. Okay, last but not least, we're going to try the Audio-Technica AP2000Tis. Now, I haven't heard too much about these headphones. For some reason, audiophiles tend to disregard Audio-Technica's higher-end headphones. I'm not sure why. I haven't heard too much about Audio-Technica's higher-end headphones. Like, almost everyone knows their lower-end headphones are great and they're good value. But I haven't heard too much about Audio-Technica's high-end. Like, only a few audiophiles may have an opinion about it. But yeah, like, obviously the mainstream consumer don't really try high-end headphones that much. But even among hi-fi, high-end headphones for audiophiles, like, they're not that popular. Everyone just goes for Audis or they go for Sennheiser, and they just kind of skip the Audio-Technicas, which is kind of a shame, because I kind of want to hear more opinions about what this headphone sounds like. So you don't hear too much about Audio-Technica's high-end headphones online. Well, among Westerners anyway. Just kind of a shame. But yeah, let's check these out. Okay, these ones are very easy to drive, very sensitive, so I gotta dial back the power. These are the most sensitive out of all three of these, I think. Just keep them in the middle. Okay, these are actually pretty unique. All right. These headphones are also really unique and special. Interesting. So yeah, the Audio-Technica AP2000Tis. I think in terms of the highs, these have probably the best highs I've ever heard. Except for the very, very high end. Some of the stuff I tried in Japan, like the Hyphamis Varas, some of the electrostatics like the Stax X9000 and the Dan Clark Carinas, except for the super high end stuff. For yeah, for headphones under $2,000, these are probably the best highs I've ever heard in a headphone. I'm talking open and closed backs. Like, when people talk about sparkling high end, airy high end, this is it. The high end is super sparkling and super airy, and yeah, it's amazing. It's not fatiguing. It's not harsh. It's not sibilant. It's just super detailed. A lot of clarity. And actually soundstage is very impressive on this as well. In terms of soundstage, imaging, like just the feeling of having, different, how to explain soundstage. It's like, it's like when you hear music, right? You hear music come from all directions around you, right? They call this a holographic, I don't know, 3D type of sound or something. Well, the Audio-Technica definitely has the most of this compared to the Fostex or the Dan Clarks. Now, in terms of soundstage, these definitely have the biggest soundstage. Dan Clark's after that, and then the Fostex has kind of the most narrowest soundstage. But it's not like super narrow. It's just narrow compared to these two. But yeah, soundstage is amazing on these. For closed backs, these actually sound... The soundstage on these actually rivals some of the open backs I've heard, like the Bear Dynamic DT1990 Pros, for example. I think the soundstage on that is similar to the Audio-Technicas. So these have soundstage like an open back. And the trebles, the highs are just incredible. Probably the best I've ever heard, in especially in a headphone like around this price range. The mids and the bass, it's interesting. The mids, I don't think there's anything too special about the mids. So that's probably the weakest part of this headphone. The bass is pretty nice though. It's not like really pushed up like the Fostex, but it's there, it's present, and it's pretty detailed. And the mids are okay. So that's about what I can say about the Audio-Technica AP2000Tis. They're pretty nice headphones. I wish more people would talk about them. They're kind of the opposite of the Fostex in the sense that the Fostex is just a bass monster and it's really good for electronic music and it's super slammy bass. The Audio-Technicas have really good highs. It's like the bass is there and it's pretty decent, but it has like super airy, super sparkling highs. So yeah, this is probably the best highs I've heard, especially in a closed back. And Fostex has the best bass I've heard, especially in a closed back. So, it's interesting. But the thing is, I think the highs on the Fostex are not that great because they can be harsh, they can be fatiguing, whereas the lows on the Audio-Technica is definitely pretty good still. So just not as good as the Fostex, but still pretty good bass. So yeah, I would say the only thing is I wish the mids could be a bit more forward and detailed. But other than that, I really like the highs on this. It's amazing. The soundstage is great. So that's my opinion of the three. In terms of my favorite out of these three, it's the Dan Clarks because they're just the most balanced out of the three. And then these two are just kind of specialized headphones. Like if you want to listen to electronic music, dance music, anything with a lot of bass, then this is the headphone to go to. And if you want to listen to something with a lot of highs, maybe classical music or something, then the Audio-Technicas are great for that. And then the Dan Clarks are kind of just good for everything. It's a nice balanced pair of headphones. It doesn't have the highs of the Audio-Technicas. It doesn't have the lows of the Fostex, but it just does everything equally well. So it doesn't have a weakness, essentially. It's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, right? But in terms of, if I would just pick one headphone for listening to, most types of music, that sounds good for most types of music, and if I just pick one pair, then I'll go with the Dan Clarks because it covers the most bases. So yeah, that's pretty much it, my opinion on these three. It really depends on what kind of music you listen to. Again, bass heavy music, go for the Fostex. Music with a lot of high end, right? Maybe classical music or something. But just generally most music sounds good with the Audio-Technicas too. It's just definitely the highs are emphasized in those. And just good for most kinds of music, the Dan Clarks. It's everything just across the board is pretty detailed and a decent soundstage. That's not as much as the soundstage is not as much as the Audio-Technica, but it's still pretty decent and better than the Fostex. So yeah, and plus the fact that it folds up and it's compact. So my pick would be the Dan Clarks. But I'm gonna have a sound test for you guys to show you guys using my usual test tracks, and let me know what you guys think. Which one would you pick? Yeah, because everyone has different tastes, right? Music is so subjective. So just for me personally, I picked the Dan Clarks, but let me know what you guys think. Which headphone do you like the best? I'm gonna have a sound test after this, and then do some comparisons, and then let me know what you guys think. So, as you guys, stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching. Do this one, Dan Clark.
Do I need the extra?
No, this one should be fine too. Just turn up the volume a little bit on these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dan Clarks that I brought from you, I really didn't like them that much. When I first tested your place, it seemed okay, but after doing more ABs at home, like in a more quiet environment, listening, just relaxing, like it felt like there lacked some clarity here and there, and then like especially the treble, the treble kind of like it sounds a bit like just like mouse farts, you know, the treble.
Okay, yeah. This one might have more more detail.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe the file one. It's got more power.
You choose this. Yeah. See, this one does need a little bit more. Right?
Yeah, this one needs more. It doesn't sound good right now out of my phone, but actually it's the same problem that it sounds kind of similar to the other Dan Clarks in a way. I have some similar issues with it. It sounds like the treble is a little bit like it's underwater. It's okay. Still don't think it's the best, but it's okay. It's like the sound stage is really inconsistent. Some parts actually feel like there's not much sound stage, especially between the bass and the mids. Sometimes some of the trebles, I can hear the sound stage difference in places, but the mids and the placement of the mids and the bass is a problem because it's almost like there's no separation between them. So the problem is it feels like it's bleeding into each other, or at least they're both like in the same spot. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
The problem with Dan Clark's is the same thing with the previous model, is it feels like the treble doesn't have as much clarity as some of the other ones, and it feels like there's something just holding back the treble. And then it sounds a bit better through this, but still, it seems like the treble, it's almost like it's not going all out with the treble. I mean, not the treble, I mean the mids. Something's holding back the mids. The mids feels a little bit like slightly recessed or slightly muddled just by a bit, especially something at this price range. The treble, parts of it is rolled off just like the other one, that one over there, at the focals. However, it sounds just a little bit more tinny as well, the treble. Doesn't sound as dynamic. Because that one just sounds better, even though it's rolled off treble, but whatever treble it had for the mid treble still was hitting hard.
Yeah.
But here it sounds like the treble's kind of underwater a little bit, and it's a bit rolled off.
Or like the Audio-Technica's treble, like that's like that's just, really dynamic.
That's like HD800 almost level, you know, like that treble. So, yeah, and then the mids are just nothing special. Okay. You know, like. It's sometimes mixed with the upper bass, but sometimes it just sounds a bit recessed, you know, or just a bit muffled. And it sounds like I don't know where they're trying to go out with the sound. It's almost like it's kind of inconsistent. They don't know what they're trying to do with the sound, I find.
Okay. So I find it kind of balanced for me.
It's okay, but it just feels like between the sound stage where it's kind of weird, because like how I can hear sometimes the treble, the drums can be either here or there, but then all of a sudden the bass guitar and the voice is like exactly right here. You know, which is kind of weird. Okay. So their placement for their soundstage is very strange.
Their imaging is weird,
imaging
right?
is inconsistent, is weird.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all right. But like, how much for these ones?
$550, but they retail new for $900.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, in this price range.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not bad. It's okay. But I wouldn't keep these ones. I would rather take the Focals.
Okay, well that's an open back. These are closed. So,
okay,
but well, I think for closed you like these ones, right? Okay.
Yeah, let me listen to these again one more time. Honestly, you know, at a certain point, it's just preference too. You know, like when you get the audio gear after a certain price range, sometimes it's more of like
I find when I get to this price range now, it really depends on what music I'm listening to.
Exactly. Yeah. It depends on what your preference is to yourself, what type of sound you like.
It's preference and also what music and stuff, and there's no one that's like, you know, clearly better or something. So yeah.
Strange. Actually, now that I hear this again, I don't like it quite as much as the first listen. So yeah, that's why it's important to do A/B and circle around. Or is there something wrong here?
Is it because you listen to a lot of these other headphones now?
It could be. Yeah. Yeah, these now on the second listen. They're still good headphones. The treble is definitely very prominent. Yeah. But I find that it sounds a little bit thin. Almost everything is like nothing's recessed. Like the mids are not recessed. Everything's whatever. But I find the mids just sound a little bit thin, like high pitched, a bit too high pitched. Some parts of the bass is missing. Some parts of the bass I find is missing a bit. Trebles are very in your face. But I would like the mids to sound fuller. They're not recessed at all, but they just found high pitched. Yeah. So like yeah, just a bit warmer sound would be nice. Yeah,
That's why it's different between the Dan Clarks and these.
Yeah.
I find like there's not like a clear winner.
yeah.
Because they're just different, right? The highs on this are really a lot of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
The soundstage is probably better on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the other parts kind of like the Dan Clark's better for the other parts.
So I'm not even sure which one I like more between these and the Dan Clarks, but either way, I think either one of these I'm kind of iffy. I wish this had more warmth and the mids were a bit fuller, and I wish the bass wasn't missing some of those frequencies that I think is lacking. And then the Dan Clarks, like I said, the mids also sound a little bit like they're kind of recessed by a touch. The treble sounds like it's a bit underwater a little bit once in a while. And then the sound stage is also a little bit odd, but it's a pretty balanced sound though.
Yeah,
it's pretty balanced sound. Yeah. Sometimes the treble is just so prominent that it kind of distracting a little bit, I think. Just a little bit, not bad. But I just find the mids are a little bit thin and a little bit nasally.
That's why this one I feel is more of a specialized headphone compared to these ones, the Dan Clarks.
Mm-hmm.
So just in terms of like general music, I think this one probably works better. That one seems kind of specialized.
For close back, man, I'm just saying, man, you should try out the HD 820s, man. If you want the ultimate close back, at least give it a try and see.
I don't even know if that's the ultimate close back.
I know,
and
but
plus that's out of my budget range anyways.
Okay, well, at least give it a try.
Because the HD 820s, they're not even the same price as the 800. They're actually more expensive than the 800s.
I think so, yeah.
So, by at least like $200, I think. So,
how much were they used in Japan?
Even used, like, I believe the 800s used was like 1,000 or 1,200 something.
Yeah.
And I remember the 820s being at least $200 more than that.
I think it's like 1,400 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Or 1,200 or 1,400, something like that.
This one's mine, right?
Yeah. Because I remember the 820s being like $200 more expensive. Yeah. I mean, they look cool, but
yeah, they look pretty cool. You know, like plastic.
I don't know if I would like put that much money on it.
I would bet anything that the probably most likely, regardless of what people online say, because they're comparing it to other HD 800s or really nice, headphones. I have a good I wouldn't be surprised if they were better than both of these, the Dan Clarks and this, because I think these aren't going to be like they're both solid.
They should be for the price.
Exactly, but I think both of these they're not going to be hard to beat. Like both of these, like the Dan Clark and this one, because both of these headphones, the Dan Clark and this one, both of them I hear pretty glaring mistakes. Like not mistakes, but pretty glaring issues.
So I'm not talking about if there's a better headphone. I'm talking about if there's a better headphone in the price range, right? So the HD 820s are not in the same price range.
Nope, not.
So you can't compare. I'm talking about like $600, $700 around this price range. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything better. Sure. So I tried. So yeah. I mean, we tried a bunch of the Japanese close backs too, right? The Audio-Technica, those other Audio-Technicas, the Fostex stuff. And I also tried the high-end hot Fostex too, the TH900s, which are just a totally different headphone, because that's more bass heavy. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything that's like that much better in this price range.